don't feel no way I have come too far from where I started from. Nobody told me change is gonna be easy. I don't believe he would bring me this far to just leave me. Can I get a witness here tonight? I've been so sick. I thought I couldn't get well. But the Lord came and touched my body. And tonight I'm able to tell you He's a doctor in a sick room, a lawyer in a courtroom, red on the tape, saying the things I know what I'm talking about. Somebody tell me.
Shalom, shalom, Yisrael. Yehonatan Dawid with here, humbly so. Thank you, Cleveland. I don't feel no ways tired. All those north of 50, south of 50, around 50, you remember that, man. This is what they call the 20th of February 2022. Shalom Malakim, peace be on you. Yehonatan Dawid with you here, Yahweh for Christians. We are continuing our series. This is the 6th of 7. Kahalo Hashiba, Philadelphia. This is the Assembly of Love. And we did get cut short last week, but I want to keep on because we got the this is T-minus 55 for Pesach, and I want to keep. I don't want to lose a week because we got to get with that, and then we got to do Daniel Revelations. But we began with Ephesus. This is the loveless assembly, and then Smyrna, which is the persecuted one, and then we had Pergamum, which is the compromised assembly. Then Thyatira, the corrupt assembly. Last week it was Sardis, the dead assembly. This is the world's first mega church, if you will. The world's first mega church. Big, full of pomp and circumstance, but dead. No life, no love in Yahweh. You know, one of the themes, maybe even the principal theme, well, no, I would say one of the themes of Yahweh for Christians is the love of the name of Yahweh. The theme is the love of Yahweh. But to know Him is to love Him. To love Him is to know Him. If you know anyone that you love, you know their name. And I want to caution those out there who think that this is not important, talking about a name is only name. If it's not important, just in this one letter alone, penned by Yochanan, as dictated to him by Yahweh himself, given to Malakim, who sent it to these assemblies, who read them to them live, right there. Can you imagine going to worship, and a malak is in there at the pulpit giving you the word, the preacher sitting on the side? But 23 times, Yahweh mentions name for him or the name of the beast. So if it's important to him, then it must be important. He who has an ear, let him hear. That's one of the themes of Golah, which you call the book of Revelations. It's a Hebraism, he who has an ear to hear. When that was told to the Hebrew, they knew to pay attention, to lean forward, to bend the ear towards the word. We know that faith comes by hearing, Romans 10:17. and that the just live by faith. And we know faith comes by hearing the word of Yahweh, Habakkuk 2:4. How can they hear unless they have a preacher? Here you don't have a preacher, you have a teacher. Consider this, Yisrael. All of what we know, all of what we see was created by the word of Yahweh. The word, that means he spoke. And reality heard it and it became. He who has an ear, let him hear. Words spoken to be received by the ear. And in faith, Yahweh spoke and reality came. What we say is important because he gave man the power to create with his own mouth. Do not destroy his creation with your mouth. He created with the word of his mouth. Don't you destroy it with what you say out of your mouth. So we know that our faith is not increased by our eyeballs, not increased by what we see, but by what we shema, what we hear. What we hear is the instructions from Yahweh. The Torah just means instructions. Is the instructions on how to live, how to walk, how to talk, how to eat, how to drink, how to dress, how to bless, how to curse. All of this housed in Yahweh Shua, who is the Torah. He is the law. Galatians 3:24-25 says the law is a tutor, and it brought us to Yahweh Shua. Once we have Yahweh Shua, we don't need it. It brings us to him. He is the kingdom, and it does not come by observation. Luke 17:20-21. We know we do look forward to the Kodesh Moedim, the feast days. I'm doing a countdown to Passover, but it does not come by observation, he says. It comes by Shema, hearing. You have to be able to discern the voice of Yahweh. And you have to practice it now, daily. Just sit down, be still, shut up, be still, be quiet, and listen. Because you don't hear it now, you're not going to hear it then. You're not going to be able to use your eyeballs and look. The kingdom does not come by observation. Luke 17:20-21. This assembly, the Philadelphia assembly, is the assembly of love, the very opposite of Ephesus, which is where we began. The worst sin one can do is to not return love. And now we've come all the way to this assembly, the one that is the opposite of Ephesus, and it loves. Let's read the letter that the Malak spoke before this assembly, right before them in their face. In Revelation, what you call Revelation 3:17-13. Golah 3:17-13. And Golah 3:7-13. 7-13. And to the Malak of the assembly in Philadelphia write, these things says he who is Kodesh, he who is Emet, he who has the key of Dawid, he who opens and no one shuts, and shuts and no one opens. I know your works. See, I have set before you an open door, and no one can shut it. For you have a little strength, have kept my word, and have not denied my shame. Indeed, I will make those of the synagogue of Satan, who say they are EUs and are not, but lie. Indeed, I will make them come and worship before your feet, and to know that I have loved you. Because you have kept my command to preserve, I also will keep you from the hour of trial, which will come upon the whole world to test those who live on the earth. Look, I'm coming quickly. Hold fast what you have, that no one may take your crown. He who overcomes, I will make him a pillar in the bayet of my mighty one, and he will go out no more. I will write on him the shame of my Elohim. The new Jerusalem, which comes down out of heaven, out of Hashemayim, from Yahweh, and I will write on him my new shame. He who has an ear, let him hear what Ruach has to say to Ha-Chalot. Halut. So you notice I used the Hebrew word shame instead of name. Yes, we have brothers who use the word Shem, but that is not how you say the Hebrew word name. It is not Shem, it is shame. And this demonic slavery language that we're speaking now, called English, it made the word name into a bad word, a dirty word. It was not by coincidence. In English, when you use the word shame, that's a bad thing. It's not good to be called shameful. That's a bad thing. In Ibarit, the word shame it could be a tope thing or it could be raw. If you have a bad shame, which means name, then that's bad. If you have a tope, which you call it good, it means good. The Hebrew word for name is shame. There's no coincidence that Hasatan made it a bad word in this language of slavery. Now, let's do a little backdrop on the history of this small town of Philadelphia, because it's going to give you insight as to why Yahweh should introduce himself as such, and he gave the reward as such. If you follow this every week as I've been going through these assemblies, Yahweh should introduce himself in a different manner with each one, because he was given this message tailored to each assembly. And he also gave a different reward to each one because it is tailored for each assembly. There are only 7 Ruachim of Yahweh, his Besorah message. There's only 7. In the last day, everyone saved will be in one of these 7. This is why he has a tailored message for each one, delivered by what you call an angel himself, right there within their assembly on Shabbat. And he introduced himself as such to this town, and I'm going to explain why right now when I talk about this history. It is a Greco-Turkish town. Today it's called Al-Asahar. Now, it was burned down after World War II, during the war, but is, of course, back up to down now, and is now known for its mineral water and dried fruits, principally its raisins. But it was established 189 BC by Attalus. Now, Attalus, who had great love and loyalty to his brother Eumenes, is what caused the coining of this name, Philadelphia. So if you can look up the history of these two men, I will spell it for you. Attalus. That's Attalus. He's the one that founded Philadelphia in 189 BC, who had great loyalty and love for his brother Eumenes. Eumenes. This was not any kind of unrighteous love. Not that these two men were righteous. They were kings of idolatry. One in Pergamos, which we've already read about, and this one, Eumenes, I believe, was a king in Pergamum. And they had authentic, real love for one another, hence the name Philadelphia. Now, this city was actually destroyed during the time of Yahweh in 17 AD. So Yahweh was about 17 years old when this town was destroyed by an earthquake. So for 5 years, Rome forbade them from paying taxes, so they got a break so they can get back up to speed in their economy. So they had 5 years freedom of paying taxes. Now, this small town was situated so that it was in a very, I guess you can say, good location for spreading messages and words, because where it was, many roads went through Philadelphia, including roads going to India and China, because of the juxtaposition of this town. They used these roads as an advantage to be able to spread the word of their deities. So if you went through Philadelphia, you could go through different parts of the world very easily because of the way the roads were situated there. Now, this city was filled with pagan temples. And because of the great trafficking going through this town, it was kind of like a stopover town. It wasn't as huge as some of these others. But that's how come so many deities, different beliefs and faiths were lodged here. As a matter of fact, it is known for its pillars, rows of pillars, each one dedicated to a specific deity. I guess here in America, it was akin to in Hollywood, where you have the Walk of Fame with all those stars on the sidewalk, where each star had a different name of a different Hollywood celebrity. Well, that's how this was in Philadelphia, except they used pillars. Huge pillars going along the roads, each pillar with a different deity's background on it, name, and image. So that's when you knew you was in Philadelphia, when you saw these pillars. Now today, Al-Sahar, which is what it's called now, has over 50 mosques. Philadelphia, like I said, is still there today, and with multiple backgrounds and peoples and ethnicities. Now, one of the things about Philadelphia that is also known for, because it was situated with a active volcano, it had rich soil. That volcanic ash caused it to have one of the best wines in the world. So much so that Domitian ordered them to tear them down because the Philadelphian wines competed with the Roman wines. And people were going, and like I said, they had all these great roads. People would go there for their wine if they were too far from Rome. So Rome was losing money because Philadelphia has such great wine. So to this day, of course, the vineyards are back up, and you can get wine from Al-Sahar, as it is called now. Good wine because of that rich soil from the volcanic ashes. Now, the Hebrew assembly in Philadelphia was a very small assembly. Unlike what we talked about last week in Sardis. Sardis, that was a mega church, if you will. A mega church. People would travel just to go worship there. And it was very popular. As such, you had other faiths going there to worship as well, because they don't mind incorporating Yahweh with their worship. It's just another deity to them. But not so here in Philadelphia, because Philadelphia did distinguish itself from the other faiths, just like Smyrna. And just like Smyrna, this assembly was persecuted. Whenever an assembly is persecuted, and we only have 2 out of these 7 that were persecuted, it is because they distinguished themselves from the rest. Hence, Yahweh said that he will let them know who he loves. Now, I know we read oftentimes about being kicked out of synagogue, and that was a huge fear for those in Israel during that time, and you wonder why. But there's a reason why. See, here's the thing. Rome has always given exemption to the Hebrews for keeping their faith, worshiping as they wanted to worship, sacrificing as they wanted to sacrifice. Didn't matter to them. All they cared about was Pax Roma. Pax Roma. That means the peace of Rome. And how you kept the peace of Rome was by paying your taxes. So as long as they paid their taxes, they didn't have to say that Caesar was a god. It didn't matter to them. But only the Hebrews had this special dispensation. It's no different than even what Babylon, Assyria, and Greece, even Greece did. Because of the rich history of the Hebrews, all of the region knows about Abraham to Moses. See, they don't forget. Abraham is the one that caused the whole region to be able to more freely trade. Abraham is the one that caused all of these different nations to be able to communicate better, hence trade easier, hence become wealthy. How did he do that? By codifying their language. Abraham is the one that used codifications to the sounds. He's the one that started this. So whoever the sound, he put a code to it, which we call letters, and this is how they were able to better communicate, which helped trade, which helped Abraham get wealthy. He's the one to help codify the Hebrew language, which also transferred into codifying all the other languages around them. And they all knew how Abraham got wealthy also from the other nations. We saw what happened twice when a king tried to take his wife, and each time Abraham left richer. They saw how whenever Hebrews were taken in, that anyone went against them, they came out the worse, and the Hebrews came out richer. They remember Esther. They remember Daniel and the 3 Hebrew boys. They remember Yusuf. All of this, the Hebrew history was rich in this whole area. Everyone knows about them. Now they didn't want to go ahead and follow one deity. The Hebrew religion was the only religion on earth that was monotheistic. All the other ones were polytheistic. It was a unique religion. It was unlike any other faith. As such, whenever they took Yahweh's people, which they always sent them back, Babylon, Assyria, Greece, when they took over them, they allowed them to stay and keep their faith. They tried to co-opt them into their faith, but they never mandated it. They helped them build the temple back up, let them worship and keep their feast days. And the history was there. As a matter of fact, there was a registry. We see how we know our history from reading Matthew and Luke. It gave the genealogy straight down to Yahweh. So we had our history categorized and chronicled. It was well known. So to be kicked out of a synagogue was serious, because if you're kicked out of the synagogue and your name is taken off the registry, you're now open to be persecuted, because you're not keeping after the gods of Caesar, you're not keeping after the deities, and you're also not in the synagogue. You're not keeping Shabbat. That means you are out there free and doing your own thing. That means you should be out there. You need to worship the gods of the land. If you're not in the synagogue, under the protection of the EUs, they were called at that time, then you were persecuted. And only 2 places were they persecuted: Smyrna and Philadelphia, because these 2 assemblies separated themselves from. Now another thing, Rome didn't know who was who. This was just a sect, as far as they saw, another sect. They worship in the same building. They looked alike. They spoke alike. As far as they're concerned, they're all the same. It's just like one different group of people think all black people look alike. Another group of people might think all white people look alike. Another group of people think all Chinese look alike, all Japanese look alike. But to a Japanese, they see the differences between one another. A Chinese person sees the difference between one another. You see the differences. It's other eyes that are not used to it that they see just one face when they see a type of people. So for Rome, we were all the same, but we were not all the same. What would distinguish us, what would separate us, is the Besorah of Yahweh HaMashiach. Because the EUs did not worship Yahweh HaMashiach. They kept the 613. And that was their religion. Their religion was in their rituals, not in the love of Yahweh HaMashiach. And because this small assembly, was a small assembly, had the love of Yahweh HaMashiach, they were ostracized, not only by the community, but by their families and by the government. This is why Yahweh says, Ani Ohab Otach, I love you. Now, let's talk about this unique message, this unique letter that was written to this assembly. Each letter, like I said, like a thumbprint, was tailored to each assembly. Yahweh introduced himself as he who is Emet. he who is true, and that he has the key. So he's letting them know, listen, you're persecuted. You're persecuted because of the truth. Look, I am he. I am he that you're being persecuted for. I am he. I am Emet. Haya Emet. And where did he, and this is a quote, actually, let's go to this quote about this key, Isaiah 22:22. Let's go to this. Where does he get this from? Isaiah 22:22, and it reads, the key of the bed of David I will lay on his shoulder, so he will open and no one will shut, and he will shut and no one will open. So this is a quote directly from what you would call the Old Testament. And why is he, so he's being introduced as he who is Emet, he who is true, which is the reason why the Philadelphian assembly was being persecuted for keeping the truth. Then he quotes Yeshaya about this key of David. Yahweh came through the line of David. So he is the HaMashiach. He is the Messiah, the anointed one that's going to return through David. And this key, now why this connection to David? Remember, the Philadelphia assembly is called so because they are the ones that love. This word means love. This is a passionate assembly. They love him. What does the name David mean? Boiling. Boiling for who? Boiling for Yahweh. David loved Yahweh with all his heart and all his might and all his soul. This is why Yahweh said, if I was a blood man, if I was a physical man, I would be like David. David, more so than anyone, any character in all the word, loved Yahweh. Read his works in the book. His heart boiled for the love of Yahweh. He sought to seek his face every day. This is why you see the connection in this letter that I'm truth, I am the truth, whom you've been persecuted for. I come through David, who you are waiting for his return. As the anointed Messiah to come. You're waiting for his return. That's me coming through him. And he is the one that loved me as you love me. Unlike the Ephesonians who have all this knowledge, who can slice and dice and break up and down the Torah with no love. You love me. I am he. Then he says, I know your works. So it's not just about love. It's about doing Tob works. And they had little strength. They had little strength because they were being persecuted and killed. It was not a big group. And they just kept on holding on to what they can. And they did not deny his name. This is the exact opposite of Sardis, whom we spoke about last week. This huge assembly who had a lot of strength. Huge ministries. Big and profitable and doing well and renowned. Known all throughout Asia Minor. Known all throughout the land. People came far and wide just to worship there. But what did they do? It's not so much that they denied his name. They did not say his name was not Yahweh, but they incorporated other names along with Yahweh. Philadelphia did not do this. They did not deny the name of Yahweh. They used this name without leaven. They did not leaven his name with other faiths. This is why they were put out of the synagogue. And this is why Yahweh says, you will not be put out. I open the door and no one can shut it. I shut the door and no one can open it. You see why he uses the words that he uses? Because it's going to touch in the heart of the hearers of this word. While they were in their little house assembly and this Malak standing before them, they knew this message was specifically for them. Those who were put out, who were kicked out and could not get back in. And who cares about the synagogue? It's a Greek word meaning to bring together. But the Hebrew word is Knesset. Knesset. Knesset is is a group that comes together for worship. And we don't worship in a synagogue. We worship in the bed of Yah, the house of Yah. What did we say? If you follow Yahweh for Christians, in the very beginning, in the Bereshit, what Yahweh is doing is he's building, he's revealing himself through the home that is built on a foundation of the rock Yahweh Shua. You see how this comes in all one big circle? What Yahweh is doing, you gotta realize this is an eternal reality in Yahweh Shua. We are limited and we are sinful. How can Yahweh cannot directly just speak to us and have us receive, understand, and know what he's saying? What he does is he gives us tangible things that we do know and uses those as an example of what he's trying to say, what he is saying to us. We all know what a house is. We all know what a man and a woman, a husband and a wife and children are. So what he does, what Yahweh is doing is he is giving us tangible items that we have a history of, that we relate to, that we operate in, so we can understand his mind. His mind is, I love you. I love you. Ani ohab otach. I love you. And this is how I'm going to get you to understand my love for you. I'm going to do it in the home, which has a man and a woman, an Ish and Isha, and Eladot, children. And this home is going to be founded on my son. My son is Yahweh Shua. He is the foundation of the home that you build it on. It is the rock. It's not on slippery sand. And the revelation of me is going to come through you, through your seed. And he's going to come out there and he's going to show you how to love me. How to love me. He's going to show you with Tob works, good works, Sadiq works, righteous works, in true love to the death. And just to say it from the eternal mind of him to us, we cannot understand it. But we do understand house, husband, wife, children, covenant, keeping your word, following the example. These things we do know. And these things he is doing and has done. That brings us to the point of his son. The Torah leads us, is a tutor, Galatians 3:24-25. The lead us to his son. Yahweh Shua is the X-Man. All things go through him. Ain't nobody getting in without him. Now he says that right now the world doesn't acknowledge us as his children, as his Eladot. It does not acknowledge. It doesn't even recognize us. When this opens the Bible, it does not see your face in it. It sees another. It does not acknowledge you as his people. We're speaking the language of slavery. This is why Yahweh Shua says, I'm going to make them come before your feet and bow down at your feet. They'll know then who I love. And this takes us once again back to what you call the Old Testament. Yusuf said that his brother, he had a dream that his brothers would bow before him. Of course, this hit a nerve to them, and they hated him to the point of wanting to kill him. So, who is the offspring of Yusuf? Ephraim and Manasseh, who are the Melogolim, the fruitfulness, the fruitfulness of the nations, who flourish, who proliferate like fish. This is why Christians use the fish as the symbol. One of the reasons why, because it comes from the god Dagon, which is not good. But we have proliferated the entire four corners of the earth like fish. From Ephraim. Yusuf is the father of Ephraim. So that means today, you and I who are here now are from that seed, and we are not being recognized as who we are. It's going to be Yahweh Shua who's going to have to make them know who we are, and they're going to come and bow before us at our feet. You cannot do this. Only Yahweh Shua can do it. You cannot go on social media and blast and curse and name call other peoples and put them and slander them because they don't recognize you as being a Hebrew, being one of Yahweh's children. Your anger does not cause righteousness. Your anger only causes harm. That's all scripture. I'm speaking scripture out of my mouth. Your anger, your self-righteousness only causes harm. No one's going to say, oh, you're right, and stop believing what they believe and follow you because you're yelling and cursing at them. It's not going to happen. I've been doing this for over 40 years. Trust me, I have done that in my day and have tried, and it is not good. Lashon hara is going to be the number one reason why people are not going to make it into the kingdom. The tongue of evil is going to be the number one reason. Not because you stop eating, not because you're eating pork, not because you're keeping Sunday, not even because you're keeping the Lord God Jesus Christ. The number one reason why people are not going to make it into the kingdom is because they're using words to destroy Yahweh's creation. Yahweh created you after his image. Who are you to use your words to destroy his image? Words are not seen, they are heard. They are heard, yet they cause genetic changes. They alter and they create and they destroy. Your words need to support Yahweh's words and create and uplift, not destroy and break down. I have repented of myself doing this. We do not on Yahweh for Christians Jew bash. We do not white man bash. We don't even Christian bash. What we do is tell the truth. And that's going to hurt some Jews. It's going to hurt some white people. It's going to hurt some Christians. But those who have an ear to hear will not be hurt. Yahweh Shua said, blessed is he who is not offended in me. Use your words to build up. Hold on to the name of Yahweh Shua. Here's the thing. He says, hold on to that which remains. They can legislate anything they want. They can do anything they want. But the one thing they cannot do is they cannot take the name of Yahweh out of your mouth. They cannot take prayer away from you. You can pray anywhere. You be arrested. You can be put in a cell bed or a hospital bed. You can always call on name. If they rip out your tongue, they cannot stop you from praising Yahweh. They cannot keep you from calling on the name of Yahweh Shua in the heart of your mind. They cannot stop it. That's the only thing when Yahweh Shua returns that's going to remain. Not your ministries, not your works, not anything you have done with your hands. Only what's in your heart, the love of Yahweh Shua. How many of you out there worship with people who love Yahweh Shua? How many? This was the smallest of all the assemblies. This was one of the 7 Ruachim of Yahweh Shua. There's only 7 Ruachs of him. And this was one of them. And this was the smallest one. Yet everyone wants to claim they're in Philadelphia. They are part of Philadelphia. And it's a lie. You're not. You're not of Philadelphia. You're not of the love of Yahweh Shua. You hold on fast to this name. The love of this name. A name that he says that he is going to register. Remember, Yahweh Shua uses these words that speaks to this assembly. Philadelphia was known for having pillars with the deities of the world. This is why Yahweh Shua says he's going to make you a pillar and write your name on the pillar in his father's house. And no one's going to make you go out. And they took that personally because they were already out in the streets and going from house to house to house, just 2 or 3 gathered together to worship. And they were taken off the registry in the synagogues. And so when the magistrates come through, and if their names not are in the registry, they have no right to not call on Caesar or any other of their deities as gods. They had to worship the other gods, or they had rights to be jailed, or killed. They would have their farms taken, burned. They would had their jobs taken. Smyrna, all of them were unemployed in Smyrna. They take their jobs away in Smyrna. That was the least they did. But here in Philadelphia as well, if your name was not registered in the synagogues, you were open for persecution. So Yahweh says, I'm going to register my name in you. Let's go ahead and read again. Verse 12 of their narrative. Yahweh says out of his own mouth, he who overcomes, I will make him a pillar in the bayed of Yahweh. See, I'd rather have my name written on a pillar in his house. Damns the synagogues. Damn them. Damn those synagogues. I don't need to have my name registered in there. You don't need to have your name registered in there. They can go, because there will be no synagogue in Hashemayim. And then he says, he will go out no more. So they can kick you out now. They can kick you out your jobs, kick you out your homes. They can put you in prison houses. They can hurt you and put you in the hospitals. They can do whatever they want. But in Yahweh's home, where he registers your name, you will no longer be put out. He says, I will write on him the name of Yahweh and the name of the city of my Elohim, Yerushalayim. Yerushalayim. Doesn't matter what city. Not the city of Philadelphia. Not the city of Washington, D.C., not Baltimore, not New York, not any city. His city, the eternal city, because all these cities will end. And he says this city comes down from Hashemayim, from Yahweh. And I will write on him my new shame. Yes, take on the shame of Yahweh. Take on the shame of the belief in Yahweh. He says, I honor my word even above my name. Take on his shame. Yes, your own family and friends ostracize you. You're not popular. You're not going to get a lot of likes. You're not supposed to. Because they hate Yahweh. They're going to hate you. When he left the earth, and of course he resurrected, he only had 120 likes, 120 followers. This is the man of Yah himself, the one who created all things, the one who is life, only had 120 followers. That's all he had. Do not try to gain the popularity of this world. If they don't like you, that's their problem. Because you know what? At the end, they're going to be the very ones worshiping at your feet. That's not my words. That's the words of Yahweh HaMashiach. So they take your name off the rolls and take your names off the registry. He's going to put them in and write them in his registry. How important is names? I tell you, it's just not me keep talking about the name. Yahweh talks about the name. It's not important. Let's just give a few scriptures before we close out here. Revelation 17 and 5. Let's just give a few. Remember, there's 23 of them. Revelation 17 and 5. And it reads, on her forehead a name was written, Mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of whores and of the abominations of the earth. Now, if names aren't important, you wouldn't mind for someone putting whore on your head? Since names aren't important? In that day, we're going to see who is chaste to one lover, one man, and who is a harlot to many lovers. Because Yahweh's going to stamp that head with the word harlot, whore. If it doesn't matter, then you shouldn't care if it's on your head. I don't think anybody wants to have that tattooed on their head. So it must be important. Revelation 22:4. Because you wouldn't want that on your head. 22 and 4. They will see his face, and his name will be on their foreheads. Yahweh's name. If it's not important, if this naming thing is not important, then you go ahead and say, you know what? You don't need Yahweh's name on your forehead to mark you, to identify you. Go ahead and put the whore's name of Babylon, which has all the deities on all those pillars on her head. Or you're going to have a chase one person, one man, one woman's name. If it's not important now, why is it going to also be important then? It's important today. Because Yahweh sure says his name, for those who love him and seek his face, who boil for him, his name is going to mark them. 16 and 9. Revelation 16 and 9. It's not important, right? Revelation 16 and 9. For they have shed the blood of the saints and the prophets, and you have given them blood to drink. 16:9. Okay, my apologies. And men were scorched with great heat, and they blasphemed the name of Yahweh, who has power over these plagues, and they did not repent and give him glory. Why didn't they just blaspheme what he's about? Why didn't they just blaspheme what he said and what he's doing? They specifically blasphemed his name. Specifically. They blasphemed his name. Even while they were being pelted with stones. 100 pounds fire and ice stones. They blasphemed his very name. Because that's what's in their heart. What comes out of the mouth is seated in the heart. If you have a heart of blasphemy, if you have a heart of Laban, and then everything goes like in Sardis, where it doesn't matter. You go ahead and treat Yahweh like a smorgasbord. You just go ahead and toss it in with everything else. If you have that kind of heart, which is the heart of harlotry, you can't sleep in one man's bed, then another man's bed, then another man's bed, and then come back to your husband, another woman's bed, a different woman's bed, and then come back to your wife. You just, what name are you going to call on in the midst of your ecstasy? You're going to call on the one that's in your heart. And if Yahweh Shua's name is not in your heart, they're going to blaspheme to the end. Get it in your heart now, today, on what they call the 20th of February, 2022. It's important. It's not Yehonathan Dawid saying it. It's right here in the book, in the Brit Hadashah, the New Testament as you call it. Revelations 15 and 4. Who will not fear you, O Yahweh, and glorify your name? Because you alone are Kodesh. For all the nations will come and worship before you, because your judgments have been manifested. Your judgments have been manifested. Who's not going to honor your name, it says? Who wouldn't do that? Those who have a heart of blasphemy. Blasphemy means wrong use of the name. Wrong use. Yahweh means I am. I've always existed, I always will be. Yahweh Shua means I am salvation. I've always been salvation. I've always existed as your salvation. That's what those names mean. You cannot put any other name in its place. Revelations 14 and 11. Revelations 14 and 11. And it reads, and the smoke of their torment ascends forever and ever, and they have no rest day or night, who worship the beast and his image, and whoever receives the mark of his name. So it's not important. Will you take a chance? Are you going to take that gamble? Are you going to go to the Horseshoe down in Baltimore, or the one, or the gambling place out there in DC, wherever? Are you going to take a gamble that is not important? When it says they are going to be tormented day and night if you receive the name of the beast, the mark. It marks who you are. If it's not important, then go ahead and keep the name of the beast. See if it's important to the one who created you. The one who created heaven and earth, the sea and all that in them is. It's important to him, so much so that he says if you don't take his name, he's not going to put his mark on you. And if you take his enemy's name, he's going to put that mark on you. And those who have the enemy's name of Yahweh are going to be in torment forever. I just thought I'd stop by here and tell you that. Revelations 13 and 1. This name thing is important, do you think? Then I stood on the sand of the sea, and I saw a beast rising up out of the sea, having 7 heads of the 10 horns, and on his horns with 10 crowns. On his head the black heads a blasphemous name. Now, I wanted to read this one because it says a blasphemous name. That means a specific name of blasphemy. In the beginning was the Word. You read that somewhere? Did you read that somewhere? The Word. Was that word English, Latin, German, French, Greek, Russian? Yahweh opened his mouth and said one of these languages, or did he open his mouth with Lashon HaKodesh, the language of creation, Ibarit? So that means when in the beginning was the Word, when he says, I am, and he says, let there be light, Kaya or, Haya or, light, which means the knowledge of Yahweh, not the physical light, because that didn't come till days later. Let the creation, let the reality be full of the knowledge of Yahweh. Did he say Jehovah? That came by thousands of years after in the beginning, thousands of years after the Bereshit, before the foundations of the world. Did he come up with anything Greek? Yet today you think you can open your mouth and blaspheme? Remember, right here it says in Revelation 13:1, on his heads a blasphemous name. There's a specific name of blasphemy that does not identify Yahweh as who he says he is. That does not identify Yahweh as who he says he is. Yahweh is building his house on the rock of his son. The foundation, Yahweh Shua HaMashiach. Psalm 135:13. You know why Yahweh loved Dawid? Because Dawid loved him. And that's why so many people hated Dawid. He loved Yahweh with all his heart, all his might, all his soul. Psalm 135:13. Your name, O Yahweh, endures forever. Olam. Your fame, O Yahweh, throughout all generations. All generations. His fame forever. That means here in 2022, whatever Dawid was calling him then, it endures to this day. It endured before Dawid was born. And then at that time, there was no Lord, God, Jesus, Jehovah Christ. There was no sweet Jesus when Dawid penned this. There was none. And as many out there who are offended, all you got to do is open the Bible and say, is it true or is it not true? Yahweh Shua introduced himself as him who is true in this letter to this group. But you want to claim to be part of Philadelphia. Yahweh introduced himself. The first words out of his mouth is he who is true. He who is emet to this group. So, was Dawid calling him Jesus? That's going to last forever, when there was no such thing as such. Hebrews 13:8 says, yesterday, today, and forever, he remains the same. Hebrews 13:8. Yesterday, today, and forever. That's what it says. Forever is a long time. That means here back in the book of Hebrews, written about less than 60 years after the resurrection of Yahweh Shua, there was no Jesus. It couldn't have been. I gave you the history of that name. It's important, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, because this is the name given unto men by which you must be saved. Must be saved. John 8:58. John 8:58. And it reads, Yahweh Shua said, this is Yahweh Shua speaking. I think he knows what he's talking about. Most assuredly I say to you, before Abraham was, Haya, Yahweh. Before he even was, I am. That's what he said. And they got the message, which is why they immediately took up stones to try to kill him. Because they said he blasphemed because he called himself I am. The Eus, your enemies, tried to stone him because he called himself who he is. What he said he was to Moshe in Exodus 3:15. He says, I am that I am. Hiya Yahweh. I am. Guess what else he said? This is my memorial name. That means this is what you remember him by. Always, olam, forever. It doesn't change. Yahweh doesn't change. From Exodus 3:15 to Hebrews 13:8, whether it's Yahweh or Yahweh who's all one and the same, he does not change because you came along. Speaking English. Where in the history of the universe, any kind of peoples, where the child is born, grows up, and changes the parent's name and makes it the official name for the records. And the parents say, yes, okay, that's what you want me to name? That's what, and the parents take on the name that the child gave them. The father gives the name to the child. The child does not give the name to the father. You say you're a child of the Lord, you don't name Yahweh. Before you came on the earth, he had his name. Thank you very much. Mark 6:14. Mark 14, 61 through 65. But he kept silent and answered nothing. Again, the high priest asked him, saying to him, are you Hamashiach, the son of the blessed? Yahweh said, okay, out of his mouth, Hiya, Yahweh, I am. And you will see the Son of Man, Bain Wa'ish, sitting at the right hand of power, and commanding the clouds of Hashemayim. Just like he told Moshe in Exodus 3:15, I am. I do not change. This is my memorial name. And what happened? What was the response? They immediately beat him and smacked him down. They immediately started smiting him. If the devil is in a person's heart, the accuser is in their heart, the response to the name of Yahweh is going to be one of hatred and violence. When he said, I am, they hated him and they responded in violence. What happened to, now this is from people who suppose to know who he is. This came from the EUs, from the ones who were in charge of the synagogues. But for the Romans, they didn't respond that way. In John 18:6, when they was coming to arrest him, they said, are you the Messiah? He said the same thing. They didn't try to kill him, but the power that he talks about caused them to fall back. Read it in John 18:6. Those who were not Hebrew, who did not know who he was, that power of him saying who he was caused them to fall back. But those who suppose know who he was, caused it brought out their trueness. Brutal vipers, demons, sought to stone him. And here in Mark, they immediately started beating him. How about Luke? Luke 1. And I'm not going to have a chance to finish reading it. But in the narrative, in Luke 1, 31 to 38, this is when Miriam is being spoken to by the Malak, talking about her pregnancy with Hamashiach. And this Malak came straight from the throne of Yahweh, hearing the words of Yahweh to his ears, telling him what to say to Miriam, who he was going to come through. So the Malak comes down to earth to talk to her, to tell her the message that Yahweh gave him, straight to her ears. Do you think she got that wrong? He says his name will be Yahweh Shua. He is Emmanuel. He is Elohim with you. This was a name that they did not know in what you call the Old Testament. It was a secret. You can go ahead and start it. Do you think he got it wrong? But you're getting it wrong today. Next week, Laodicea, the final assembly in apostasy. Apostasy. Until then, Yahshua will love you and keep you and let his face shine on you and give you peace. And don't we here, Shalom, Malakim, peace be on you.